Back in 1953, the very first Corvette was born. It's back there, and since then there have been 7 generations, the C1 all the way to the C7. So when a new Corvette is born, the C8, it's a big deal, especially since there really has never been a mid-engine Corvette. Sure, there was a concept, but now, in 2019, we're about to see the birth of the very first mid-engine Chevy Corvette. Well guys, there it is. The brand new 2020 mid-engined Chevy Corvette C8. And there's some big news out about this car, so let's cut to the chase and get to the big numbers. First and foremost, it'll be available for under $60,000. Probably not this one, but Chevy says they'll start at about $60K. And the second big number is 3, as in 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds.
We are seeing 0 to 60 times in under 3 seconds.
So before we give you more information about this, I was lucky enough to have a chat with the guy who designed the car, Tom Peters, and let's talk to him about what inspired him to design the very first mid-engined Chevy Corvette. All right, Tom, so retired now, but that is a great way to go out.
Oh, thank you.
Designing the last, well, the first mid-engine Corvette. So when you...
Long time in coming.
Yeah, when you set out to do that, I mean, you did the last one as well. You did the C7.
Yeah, C7 and then also C6.
Yeah, so what was, you know, designers have inspiration. What was your inspiration?
Well, you kind of saw images of it. Aircraft has always been a source of inspiration for automobile designers.
Yep.
And this one is no different. And why is that? Because those are kind of ultimate leading edge high performance vehicles that are incredibly purposeful.
Yep.
And they seem to stand the test of time. They're function driven, but their functionality adds to the aesthetic of the vehicle, the character of it. So we pull that into it. Then racing, of course. Racing has a huge input in terms of the functionality and the aesthetic. And then aerodynamics. And there's been experiences in my career where aerodynamics was, you know, do we have to make it surface like that? And the last couple of generations, we've shifted that. Said, you know what, we got to embrace that. And that really presented itself quite well on the C7, for instance, on the previous generation.
So how much did the mid-engine layout of the car influence its design?
Oh, incredibly. The fundamental proportions shifted. I think when you saw how the graphics changed, when Taj was explaining how it shifts the driver forward, obviously the engine goes in the back, and we had a discussion here earlier how that allows us sculpturally to make some pretty incredible changes relative to where the canopy with the cockpit cover slides forward. The powerful engine and rear quarter shapes come about in order to get air in them and house the tires and wheels along with the suspension, the engine, the transmission. And then you can do things aerodynamically with a mid-engine shape and proportion that are far more beneficial, takes it to the next level, as good as today's is.
I would think that the new engine gets hot, right? 6.2. So 6.2.
Oh yeah, that's a big.
So cooling must have been a big deal.
Well, when I speak of aerodynamics, in my mind, there's three elements to that. One is obviously the drag for efficiency. The other one is downforce, and number three is cooling. And all those have to mesh seamlessly to create to get the maximum performance out of the vehicle.
I remember when we talked and you did the last generation Silverado, and you said that was kind of a fist in the wind.
It was, yeah.
Was there anything like that? Is there kind of an analogy that you had in your mind when you were doing this?
To me, it was probably like jet fighter aerodynamics.
Yeah,
you know?
the pointy front.
Well, kind of the point, but part of that is aerodynamic, but more in kind of the character, and again, looking at interpreting what is the essence of Corvette from a design standpoint. I know there was concern that can you make a Corvette in mid-engine configuration? And my experience has been, I think this bears it out, absolutely. I had no doubt whatsoever from day one on that, because to me, when you stand back and look at the vehicle, you look at Corvette Stingray, if it says it, and you have the elements that are done right, it's going to say Corvette. And also, you've seen the history of mid-engine Corvettes that have been done. They were pure Corvettes, so it's the logical next step.
And one of the cool things about the new Corvette is it's got a front and a trunk, right? So was that hard to design to have both?
I won't lie, that was a challenge, but we knew we had to have it. That's what Corvette is about. And the neat thing about Corvette, and it surprises me to this day, when I share the Corvette, people walk around, many people are still surprised at the cargo capacity.
Yeah, it's practical.
The shape. It's practical, but it's like a delight. It's like a delightful feature. Wow! And this one, I think you heard the crowd in here when Tad's demonstrated the access to that and what it provides. That's been a Corvette hallmark, and we listen to our customers and try to translate as best as we can, and again, get that balanced level of performance and functionality and beauty in the whole car.
So under the hood of the new mid-engine Corvette, you not only see a glass partition that you look down upon the new 6.2 liter V8, the LT2. Yep, LT2, 6.2 liters, no turbos, no electrification, just good old American muscle. Puts out 495 horsepower and 470 pound-foot of torque, and it is mated to the rear wheels, of course, via a brand new 8-speed dual-clutch transmission. Of course, in the front there are, three big changes. Number one, there's a new Corvette badge. Once again, talking to Tom, he said there's very much a jet fighter theme going on. And number two, of course, and you know this, is that no longer is there a V8 under the hood. Now, in fact, you get a frunk. Yep, just like a Tesla. Maybe a little bit deeper than a Tesla, but in case you need to bring more than just some golf clubs, you can now do it by actually putting stuff in the front of the Corvette. And Corvette has always been kind of the practical man sports car, and I think that the GM engineers really wanted to keep that theme, so they provided not only a trunk but also a pretty cool front. Look at this shape of this front trunk. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that closes easily. Here's an interesting party trick that you get with the new Corvette. It will actually raise its nose about 2 inches so that if you're going, say, over a speed bump, you don't pull or break the front spoiler. But that's not the party trick. The party trick is that if you do go over that speed bump, in the Corvette's infotainment, you can mark the location of that speed bump, curve, whatever it is, and the Corvette will remember it up to 1,000 locations. So the next time you pull into your driveway, the Corvette will raise itself automatically so that you don't damage it. So for the very first time, the new Corvette is actually designed from the factory to be either left-hand drive or right-hand drive. And I suppose that means that all you folk in the right-hand drive countries will have a chance to buy this car. Now, this is my first time behind the wheel, and yeah, it's kind of an evolution of the C7 design. So there's the electric opening doors. There's, of course, this removable roof which fits in the back. The biggest difference, of course, is that when you're sitting here, you really do feel like you're piloting a jet. I just want to floor this thing, and I want to hear that 6.2 liter engine roar, and I want to see what 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds feels like. But let's talk about the switchgear. This is very, well, almost old school Porsche. A lot of the new cars are now going to, of course, electronic touch controls. Not the Corvette. I've got my heated seats here. I've actually got my HVAC controls, including fan speed over here. I have my temperature controls, and in this car, I even get cooled seats. How cool is that? Over here is a shifter, very modern, and then over here, a little button where you can actually raise and lower the car, and I see a little button over here for a front view camera. A lot of the controls, of course, are on the steering wheel. The steering wheel is, of course, square bottomed and, interestingly, square top with, of course, this red stitching, which is very reminiscent of any race car, so you know where dead on center is when you're driving fast around a track. Seats are comfortable, and as you can tell, I am 6'2", and actually I have plenty of headroom. I love these very big paddle shifters. And let's see what's in here. Of course, it's an American car. We've got cup holders. And looking over my shoulder, not only do I have speaker, but more importantly, I can see that big LT2 back there. That's going to make this fighter jet experience something to be remembered. Now, how about the fact that this is the first Corvette that's right and left designed from the get-go to be right and left-hand drive? Is that a challenge too?
To me, we knew we had to go in and be able to provide that for the customer. Again, listening to the folks that are out there that are current customers or potential customers. Really important.
How about the asymmetrical size of the tires and wheels? Do you have to design around that as well?
Oh yeah, you mean from front to rear?
Right, yeah.
Oh yeah, to me, designers love that. Because visually, if you study the vehicle, there's more visual mass in the rear.
Yeah.
So consequently, having a larger diameter tire and wheel in the back helps to balance the visual proportion of that. And again, that ties directly in with that form and function, where you've got the aesthetic of it, the graphic aesthetic, but that's what's needed obviously for the performance as well to deliver the power to the ground.
From the back of the Corvette, there are three things that really jump out at you. First and foremost, what Tom was talking about, which is kind of this jet engine, 4 exhaust outlet design. I bet you at night when this thing is going down the road, it does look like a jet engine is flying away from you. The other thing that's, of course, interesting are the new emblems. Here you have like the C7, the Stingray, which has been a little bit elongated, so now that still remains. And of course, check this out. Look at these. You got these 4 massive exhausts, which of course in the past used to be right here in the center, but now they're out to the side, looking very much like the exhausts of a jet engine, which I think is the whole idea. And of course, the C7 has those iconic 4 exhaust pipes coming out the center, and this, of course, is a big change because now you've got 2 on either side.
Well, part of our goal
was that on purpose?
Oh yeah. Well, some of it's packaging, but we had a lot of discussion around that. It is function driven, but again, from a design perspective, our intention was to drive as much differentiation as possible. But still, when you stand back and look at it, it says Corvette. That's key. From the beginning, Chevy has designed this to be a supercar killer, at least in price and perhaps even in performance. And to be a supercar, you got to have supercar features, like, for instance, the hidden door handle. Where is it? Well, it lives down here, right by this functional air intake for one of the many, I think it's about 6 to 8 radiators on this for a lot of cooling. But if you want to open it, you hit the little button and the door opens. How cool is that? I heard you're going to be building a lot of these, perhaps as many as 2 shifts, right?
Yeah, we've announced that that we're going to be moving from 1 shift to 2 shift of production when we start making the next generation car, this one that we have, the 2020 Stingray, before the end of the year.
So I wanted to ask you, it's got the removable roof panel just like the C7. So where does it live in the C8?
Well, the removable roof panel in the current car comes off, so the mechanisms are very similar. But in this car, the back of the panel comes and rests in some pockets that are built into the back of the car, and then the front of the panel simply comes and engages into these spring-loaded pieces. So you set it in, and then you just snap it in.
Yeah, I was wondering what these were for, so that's really where...
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
It's very, very simple, and it's easy, and it makes taking the top off just a 5-minute job. It's less than a 5-minute job, one person.
From a plant manager's perspective, Is it harder to build a mid-engine car versus a front-engine car?
Well, I would say that, you know, we have such a large level of complexity with even our current car and our new car. It just presents different challenges. It's not maybe more difficult, they're just different. We spent $755 million retooling our factory over the course of the last 4 years. And what people didn't know at that point in time was that, you know, we were doing all of these things for this. And so what we've done is we've been able to architecture our manufacturing processes to build both cars. We build right now almost all of the cars that you have seen on the road in camouflage. They all came from Bowling Green. They go down the exact same line that the current production car goes down, with the same people assembling it.
So when do you start production?
The production will start before the end of the year. We've announced that the current car ends production this year, and there will be no overlap, and that the new car will start before the end of the year.
So if people want to get it, they can start ordering them now, right? The configurator's online. The
configurator's online, and you can work with your dealers to start the process of getting a new one, and I would recommend go get in line fast, because this is going to be a wildly popular car.
Are you still going to have the program where people can come and pick it up at the factory?
We have a lot of programs in partnership with the Corvette Museum, and yes, we plan to have all of those programs in place.
That's great. Yeah. So if people want to go and get their factory fresh,
yep,
they can do it.
Yep, watch their car be built, and then also we have a lot of people with plant tours. In the C7, when we started, we had 60 to 65,000 tourists every year that paid to come through our factory. That's 200 or 300 a day, and we're glad to do it because we love the customers.
All right, last an easy question. What's your favorite color? We've got red, white, and blue here. What's the one you're going to get?
Well, we're moving from 9 colors to 12 colors with the new car, and that means that there's a few colors that haven't been released yet. And since you asked, the color that I'll get in my first car is one of those that has not been released yet. And don't ask me what it is, because I can't tell you.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I can't wait to see it.
Yep.
So what do you guys think? Do you like it? I mean, first time ever that the Corvette has potentially attained true, not sports car status, but now supercar status. And I bet you're wondering, 6.2 liter putting out 495 horsepower, that's not really supercar. But I'm betting that Chevy will supercharge that engine within the next few years, increasing that horsepower by quite a lot. Anyway, let me know in the comments below if you like it, and perhaps the most important takeaway I can tell you from this debut is that there were a lot of Chevy dealers, and when they heard that 60K number, not this one once again, but the base unit, they all applauded.
When the 2020 Corvette Stingray goes on sale in the US, it will start at less than $60,000.
You can get yourself a mid-engined supercar for about $60,000, and that certainly puts a lot of smiles on a lot of people's faces. As always, this is Roman saying thanks for watching. Remember, check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and of course, brand new C8 Corvette debuts. See you guys next time. Ciao.